story is a big concern to a lot of people. The government is announcing the annual cost of living adjustment will be zero this time around. The COLA will be flat. So that sets up a major rate hike for nearly a third of Medicare recipients out there. About 7 million Americans are expected to see their Part B premiums, that covers all the surgery, doctor's visits, all the regular everyday stuff. It's going to increase 52% next year. I mean, it can't go up much more than that, right? Put that in perspective. This year's individual monthly premiums are about $105. Next year, they could be close to $160. Dr. Mark Siegel is a professor of medicine at NYU Langone and a member of the Fox News Medical A team and good friend of the show. Good to see you this morning,
Great
Mark.
to see you.
Who's affected and what does this mean?
Well, first of all, they call this the hold harmless clause, and that's the usual euphemism, right? Hold harmless? Well, it's harmless for the 70% of Medicare Part B recipients who have Social Security, because they're not going to have a cost of living increase, as you just said, mainly because gas prices have remained flat, by the way. So there's no cost of living increase for those, and you won't see an increase in Medicare premiums. But for the other 30%, they will have to absorb it. The law will kick in, and those who are baby boomers, 3 million baby boomers that are joining the Medicare ranks, those who make more than $85,000 a year, those who don't have Social Security umbrella, and the last group, 10 million people who have Medicare, Medicaid. Now, they're not going to pay it out of pocket, but guess who's going to pay it for them? The states. And states are already saying we may cut down on Medicaid services in order to cover this additional cost. So 17 million are affected. States are affected, and people who can't afford to affect their fixed incomes are affected. People who say, hey, I can't pay this. I'm already paying $100 a month for my Medicare premium. How are you going to get me to pay another $60? That may not sound like a lot. That's a lot if you're on a fixed income.
Right, so in a practical sense, I have a couple questions. What happens if they can't pay it? What will happen to them?
Well, if they can't pay it and they have to pay it, they're going to have to drop Medicare Part B. And as you said, that covers doctor's visits to doctors like me. They're not going to be able to get their medical care. It covers surgeries. It covers a lot of laboratories that they need. I mean, this is a total disaster for people that are on fixed incomes.
And it's so ironic.
And the states may cut Medicaid services.
Because, the reason that the COLA is not going up is because there's no inflation in the economy. So they're saying, basically costs are flat. So we're not going to give you more in your Social Security check this time around. But because there's no inflation in the economy, there's inflation for all of those 30% out there who have to pick up the slack.
You made a great point here. I want to make sure people understand what that means. When your Social Security check goes up, we hide the Medicare premium increase under that. So you don't see any difference when you get your check. But if you don't have that cost of living increase, they can't raise your premiums, but they raise them on everybody else. That is going to be a big, big problem.
Big problem.
Now, by the way, the solution, if the government gets involved, there's a big battle going on in Congress. It will cost $6 or $7 billion out of the taxpayer's pocket to fix this problem. And there's no agreement on that right now.
So you're going to pay one way or the other, essentially.
Either we're going to pay, we're either going to pay as Medicare recipients, our elderly, or the taxpayer pays.
We always end up paying. The taxpayer always ends up paying in the end. Mark, thank you very much. Thanks for laying that out for us. Bill?
28 past the hour. Donald Trump dominating in the polling, but he says it's not all about the money.